talking naturally. I am delighted to be joined by Sue Hudson, one of our fantastic volunteers here at Gosforth Nature Reserve. So, hi Sue, welcome. Thank you so much for joining us.
And thank you for inviting me, Rachel.
Okie dokie. So, to get started, can I ask what first sparked your interest in the natural world? Can you tell me where some of this passion came from?
Well, I spent the first decade of my life in a small village in North Oxfordshire where you couldn't really avoid nature. It was just all around us. And there was no boundary between our garden, which overlooked beautiful meadows that flooded on a regular basis, and so that was one thing, but also there were lots of people around, both my sisters and myself, that there were things that they would tell you on Sunday afternoon walks. You know, we had the Victorian great aunts and so on, and they really were great aunts. They taught us a lot of things, and one didn't appreciate at the time, because a lot of the things, it wasn't as if there were a lot of books or anything about nature. It was all very much an oral tradition, and people did still harvest all kinds of things, whether it was elderberries or dandelions. You know, we got sent out to do. And also, that would, I think, have been a feature of, although we think of Tyneside as being very industrial, I know that a lot of my contemporaries, now retired, that lived, I used to work with in various hospitals and laboratories around here. They would have had very similar childhoods. There is actually a lot of open space around here, and we went off exploring, and that's the way life was then. Yeah.
And that's something you that passion you carry through today?
Yeah, and I think it's helped me enormously, both in my career and, you know, I'm still interested and still learning.
Fabulous. Can you tell us a little bit about your role here for NHSN and what you do as a volunteer here at the reserve?
I'm mostly on the gate behind us, as you see here. Have done a little bit of conservation work, but not recently. And I think it's really important to acknowledge the huge number of volunteers in these societies. It's lovely when people introduce themselves and say what they do, because there's all kinds of things, people working in herbariums, people volunteering in libraries and so on, and so forth. So at the moment it's usually meeting and greeting that we do, and of course there have been a lot of changes in the reserve in recent years. We're sitting in a very nice centre here that's well used, and we've got new hides, paths. I suppose the other thing is that the other change that has happened over the years, the visitors have changed. Obviously the population of Newcastle has increased. Locally there are far more families, and there have been initiatives that have taken to encourage groups of people that perhaps wouldn't normally come to the reserve. And I think that's been a good thing.
Yeah, positive change.
Yeah, positive change there. Yeah. It's not a very big reserve, And it's amazing how many people come here that have no idea that it exists. And similarly, although I regularly take my dog up for a walk at Weedslade, and it's not as if there aren't areas that I now come across which I've never been to. For example, one of the initiatives obviously is around citizen science, and there are opportunities to get involved in that as a volunteer. We had a walk up to White House Farm direction, which was not somewhere I'd ever been before. It was very familiar to one of the other volunteers. Who,
I remember lots of school trips there.
Yeah. So that's been good and very enjoyable things to do. Although I like going out on my own, it's nice to go out with other people as well. Yeah.
Was that one of the reasons that sort of pushed you to volunteer here? Was it the connection, or was it more the nature, or why did you choose to volunteer?
The reason I chose to volunteer here, there was a number of reasons. I obviously had a bit more time once I'd retired to do something. It sort of fits in with lots of other things. For example, I have an allotment.
Amazing.
And that's interesting because people have very strong opinions about what should and shouldn't be grown, as you can imagine. And it's nice to use some of the knowledge that one has gained about wild plants in terms of using that in other settings. Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So, can I ask what your most memorable nature moment has been?
Yes, well, we sent an article to an eminent medical journal about jackdaws pecking milk bottles, because at that time, it was the 1980s, and a lot of people still had milk delivered. It had been the case that we recognised that there were unexplained increases in a particular gastrointestinal infection that rejoices in the name of Campylobacter, so don't ask me how to spell that. And anyway, we sent an article off to the Lancet. It was only a short letter, sort of saying that jackdaws had been observed pecking the milk bottles, and we'd grown this particular organism, which was, that might also have been a thirst actually. It was something that was thought to be difficult to grow. It was just a question of changing a few things, and it's a project. It was good because it involved lots of different people. The then Public Health Laboratory Service, which I suppose is now the Health Security Agency, but that it was more directly involved with processing specimens than the Minister of Agriculture and Fisheries, and also we needed somebody who actually tracked birds for a project that we did subsequently, which involved John Coulson, who now retired a long time ago, written a book about gulls, and he was at that time working in the biology department at the University of Durham. The great thing also, the coup was, the memorable moment was when one of the environmental health officers walked in one day with a photo of a jackdaw, pecking at a milk bottle, which of course we promptly sent off. And it's quite unusual in those days to find black and white photos in the Lancet, which it duly was accepted that this was the case. And of course it prompted a lot of other questions. Well, you know, we don't have these problems with blue tits, which is true there. So that was all a bit of fun, and it was great because I hadn't been living in the northeast for that long at that point, and it was a great introduction to Gateshead, and what a varied area it is. You know, you've got a rural west part and more suburban east part. Yeah. So yeah, I think that probably counts as the most memorable moment. Yeah.
And you've mentioned some different pockets of areas that you like to visit, Gateshead, and I've forgotten where the other one that you mentioned that you walk your dog is. Do you want to talk a little bit about some of your other favourite northeast nature spots?
Oh, that's all secret. Yeah, I mean, we got a bit of everything in here. We're incredibly lucky, and most of my getting out and about, it's around botany trips. There, Butterburn Flow in Cumbria, the origins of the Eden Valley. Little bit difficult to get up there at the moment with some of the activities that are going on up there. What is my favourite place? We went walking in Teesdale. I mean, it's difficult. It's a really difficult question to answer. Every time one of the pleasures of life is going and revisiting places that you've been to and seeing different things every time you go. Yeah. This last Saturday, I had a field trip out to Teesdale and saw all kinds of things that I'd never seen there before. And also because we walked one way up the river and came back down the other way, we just looked at different things. But sadly nobody was prepared to attempt sedges on that day.
I'd like to know, because I know you like your botany, if you've got a favourite group of plants or a favourite plant specifically, and why?
You do ask hard questions. Let me just think about that. My favourite plant. A favourite plant. I think my favourite plant is melancholy thistle, because I just associate that with the northeast. I remember clearly the first time I ever saw it on driving along to Alston. It was something I'd never seen. I know you can now get it in garden centres in Devon, but it's yeah, because I think that's a special northeast plant, or a special northern plant.
Just as a final question, could I ask what you would like to see more of within the natural history community, both locally but here at the reserve and beyond, perhaps?
I think we've made huge progress in going out with the Ousburn project, the other initiatives, obviously. People have worked very hard in society to get additional funding for all kinds of things, but importantly, people, so that now we can have events, whether it's in biker heaven, as well as, or in the West End of Newcastle, and that it's nice to see, because the other privilege that I had as a child was that Oxfordshire County Council were incredibly generous. We all had lots of opportunities to do outside activities, whether it was rock climbing in the Lake District, or going potholing in Yorkshire, or going and visiting the Dorset coast. And you know, that was at a time when a lot of people didn't go on regular holidays and so on. And like they were kind of life-changing events. It's not so easy now. And just give people, you know, also the opportunity of a day out on the fine islands, of, you know, seeing children go out and be able to do that, as well as obviously come and join in activities at the reserve.
So thank you everyone for tuning in. If you liked this video, don't forget to like it and subscribe, and we hope we'll see you next time. Bye!